For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
So how's the response been to the new single?
So far, good, honestly. I was pretty unsure of what was going to come out of it just because I felt like it was like a new chapter for me, you know, and that like new sounds and new ways of emoting and expressing. And I wasn't too sure how people would take it just because a lot of times I've had people approach me and be like, oh, I love your music. You know, it's very vibey, chill, whatever. And I would always tell people if they actually came up to me and said that, I'd be like, well, that's just for now, you know, like I like all kinds of music. So, you know, don't be too excited about the chill music because it might change. And luckily it's been received pretty well. I think that I talk about this a lot with my artist friends, and we always kind of agree that ultimately vulnerability will always see its way through. And regardless of what genre you're doing or what percussion or what kind of lyricism you're going for, if it feels authentic and vulnerable, people will like resonate with it. And luckily some people have, you know, it's been getting some attention, nothing too crazy, but it's been getting more than what I might have expected, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. 100% understood. You know, it's always interesting when you kind of take a leap into something a little bit different than what you usually do. You never know if people are going to love it, they're going to hate it. You just don't know how they're going to respond. And we're just kind of jumping into it right now because we're already on the topic of conversation. But, you know, just kind of having listened to a lot of your music from like when we first met last year and then to now, just kind of keeping track of your music, kind of watching that transformation. And then your new single that you released, was it May 30th? Was it the end of May?
Yeah, it was like the last day of May.
Yeah. Good Fortune, you know, just kind of seeing that like bit of a change. That's always refreshing, but it's got to be nerve-wracking for you as an artist.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that if I like it, I'll feel a little bit better, you know, like that's it may sound a little selfish, but ultimately it is, you know, whatever we choose to show to the world. So if I'm at the studio and I'm feeling good about it, I'll probably put it out, you know, if it feels good, if it feels like something that I want to express at the time. And it was something that I really did. And although, you know, with mixing, mastering and everything, you know, it's all a little bit later, you know, when people actually get to listen to the song, you already went through a lot of different stages to get there. So once it's already out, most artists will probably be like, I'm kind of over it. But ultimately, I did enjoy it, and I thought it was something that was necessary just because I don't know, I felt kind of spiteful in a way because I'm like, I don't just make chill music. You know, I've been listening to just all kinds of music, so I just wanted to show a different side. You know, we're all like, we all have different sides to ourselves. We're not just one note. And I think that applies to music as well. So yeah, this is the beginning of my EP, and we'll see how people react to what's next.
What was kind of the thought process going, because before the internet interruption, we were talking about, you know, stepping out there and taking a chance with with your music and whatnot. What was kind of the thought process as you kind of went into this song?
Well, this song is actually a part of the whole EP that's coming up. And this EP felt kind of like a continuation of the previous EP, you know? It's not going to sound similar, but it's very much still me, you know? And I like to think of it a little bit kind of like, okay, my first EP was like reminiscent of like being really young and naive and sort of like being out in the world and going through different experiences and emotions and sort of navigate them, but still through a very, in a way, like childlike view, or I don't know if I should say childlike, but very much like, you know, I had the whole concepts of the clouds and ethereal backdrops and all this kind of world that I wanted. And then I wanted to just like transition to a more like gritty, in a way, like adolescent type EP where I'm like a little less naive, and I'm just very, just like, because I'm less naive, I'm angrier and I'm more upset ever. And so yeah, I really wanted to do that. And I'm also excited for what's coming next, because I feel like with this album, in a way, I let go a little bit more with my lyricism, and I a little bit less about what everyone was going to say about it. And yeah, I'm excited about it. It also feels a little bit more contemporary to me, just because back like later, I mean before, my EP got delayed, just because of COVID and everything. So by the time it came out, even though I still resonated with it to an extent and everything, I did feel a little bit like, damn, I wish I would have released it before, because I'm already like learning more, and I felt a little bit more advanced with my music and everything. So this feels a little bit more contemporary in a way. Still, always like pushing forward and learning and growing. But yeah, the song very much was just it kind of captured a moment in my life where I was just very frustrated, and I felt like I constantly getting disrespected. And I just noticed how sometimes disrespect comes from, like, disrespect in a way is a little bit of an opinion, like sometimes people will disrespect you, and in their world, that's not being disrespected. Like, that's not disrespect, So it was kind of just me navigating my own boundaries within the world of like dating, and just like overall, I really like capture that like female, like in a way, like femme fatale type of energy. I'm usually not like this personally. Like I don't really like to just like scream at people and get angry and punch and all that sort of stuff, and even less kill, of course. But I don't know. I felt like I wanted to explore that with my music, because like music can be an exaggeration of your life, and that's how I took, so I felt like my boundaries were unclear. People were stepping all over me, and I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not going to do this anymore. So I wrote that. I was angry. And yeah, it came out. I chose to just like see it in a way as like an argument gone wrong. That's sort of what I wanted to capture. That's why it ends like so like chaotic. Just because in a way it's like, I don't know, usually like when you're having an argument, you're not like, all right, and now we're done. Usually it's like, get out of here. And then time goes by, and then you kind of talk about it later when you're not as heated. So yeah, that's the purpose of the song. I really like to go with music. I like to go past music with my music, in a sense, like just like bring elements that are not music, or like, just heavy on the concepts. It's not just, oh, it sounds cool and I like the chords. It's like, okay, what else? What am I trying to say? Where am I trying to go with it? So yeah.
For sure. Hey, Good Fortune, it's an absolutely amazing song. You shared it with me, or I saw it when it first, or not saw it, heard it when it first came out. And like when you shared it with me, it was, I didn't quite know what to think about it at first, because it's just so far outside of the realm of music that I tend to listen to. But then as I kind of sat there and listened to it more, and the fact that it's in Spanish, correct?
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, okay. I think that was also kind of the disconnect, because I don't speak Spanish, so I had no clue what you were saying. But then as I started listening to it, I was like, I don't have to understand what's being said. It's a good song, and I understand what's going on,
Right. Yeah.
So,
that's why I like, as I said, I try to bring more than just like music and lyrics, because a lot of in a language that some people that listen to my music don't speak. I'm like, all right, it's a world, it's like an opportunity to world build, like at the end of the day, whether you speak the language or not, you can still feel whatever it is emoting, because at the end of the day, we're all emoting. So yeah, I'm glad that you resonated with it and you felt it, even though you can't understand really what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's not so much understanding what you're saying. I just felt the essence of what the song was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be feeling. It like, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it took me a while to get to that point, but just as I kind of listen to music and I start to understand what's going on, especially stuff like, if it was like country music or rock music or anything like that, I could pick up on it pretty quickly. But when it's
Right.
like a little bit outside my wheelhouse, it takes me a little bit more time to like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. That makes sense. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, um, so Good Fortune's been out for a little over a month at this point. How's the reception been?
It's been good. It's been good. I'm a little excited to show what's next, just because it's all kind of like it all feels like the next chapter, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's been doing good. I'm just excited to keep pushing my other stuff, keep pushing this as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been doing well. I was pretty fortunate to perform it here in New York a couple of times, and the energy felt good. You know, I
Yeah.
wasn't all relaxed. You know, I was very angry and in people's faces, and I don't know. It was not like I was annoying people. You know,
Yeah.
still performance world, but yeah, it felt good. It feels good to just like explore new ways of showing yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, for sure. So you brought up that this is a part of your next EP that's coming up here soon. Is it the first single off the EP, or is like This Way, That Way? Is all that stuff on there as well?
Yeah, so I'm actually releasing my EP in order. So this is the
Okay,
first. I'll be releasing the second song, then the third one, and so on.
gotcha,
Hmm.
gotcha. Okay, well, then I want to talk about This Way, That Way a little bit because I kind of like what you did. You had like the original version, and then you released like a. It says it's a rap version, but is it more of like? Do you consider it more of a remix, or is it? How do you kind of consider that?
Yeah, I mean a little bit of both, I guess. You
Okay.
know, the artist that I worked with, Ali, he he does rap a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of wanted to release this alternative version, and people were really they were really liking it. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a great experience. Honestly, I part of why I like making music is just the ability to just connect with people from all over the world. That's so important to me. It really just feeds my soul.
Yeah.
So it was great to just work with someone that is all over on the other side of the planet, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, living a whole different life. And I don't know, it was really exciting. We actually recorded it in New York when he was
Mm-hmm.
still living. That's where we met originally. He was living here in New York. And yeah, he sent me this beat. It wasn't fully fleshed out yet. It was like, hey, I have this idea, let me know what you think. If you have any ideas, send it over. And the beat was very fun and easy to listen to, so I
Mm-hmm.
just heard it times, and some like melodies came to mind. I started writing a
Yes.
little, and I sent over on like a WhatsApp audio. I was like, what
Yeah.
do you think? And he was like, "Oh my god, I love it! Blah, 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 we got to do it." So eventually, we recorded it, and yeah, that's how it happened. It was a pretty easy process. It was really fun. He's a great person to collaborate with. Very kind, very considerate. So yeah, it was a great experience. It was fun. It's
Awesome.
always
Awesome.
that I probably wouldn't do with my own music. That's why I like to.
Mm.
I get into other people's worlds, and I like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something a little bit different. Like I feel like a lot of the music you've been doing recently. Well, I mean, we were just talking about it with Good Fortune, and then obviously with This Way, That Way. It feels like you're kind of taking more chances with your music right now, which
Yeah,
is really cool.
yeah. I'm kind of just getting over my insecurities.
Mm.
I can still feel insecure, but I'm just like, just do it anyway. Like just
Yeah,
think about it later.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
If, just do it.
yeah. So leaning back into the sophomore EP that you have that you're working on releasing, what's kind of the strategy going in there? I know you said that you're kind of releasing it in order. How often are you releasing songs? When do you kind of anticipate the full EP to be out by?
Well, I'm doing a waterfall
Mhm.
release, so I'm kind of just like releasing it little by little, and some it's a little bit subject to change, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
do like every month to drop
Okay.
just so that I can have some, just like really take the time to try and like show it to more people and not
Mm.
rush it, because I could do something like every 2 weeks, but I want to be able to be I want to be able to grow with each song, and
Mhm.
so I don't feel like I necessarily need to super rush the release. I can just
Mhm.
keep showcasing a little bit of it here and there on social media, and then just like really expanding the vision once it's out, you know?
Yeah.
So I've been trying to do. And so yeah, so now that it started releasing, I'm trying to do like once a month. The release is supposed to be coming out next. It got a little delayed, but it's all good. We're still good. It's coming out. It's coming out July 14th. So
Nice.
and yeah, it's a continuation of that song. It's not like a I actually contemplated releasing it or just putting it out once the EP was out, just because it's like a continuation of that song. I don't know. I mean, people consider it a song. To me, it's more like half song, half interlude, but it very carries that energy from before, but breaks it in a way. So it's like a release from the previous track, which then serves to continue on to the next track that I'm really that one, because the track that's coming out after this one on July 14th, it's called Blue Planet, and I really felt like I was able to encapsule and write about something that I've been wanting to write about for a long time. So really excited about.
Nice. That's cool. That's and I think you'll find out, like, even though it was unintended to take essentially 6 weeks to release the new song, or the new song. I think 6 weeks is kind of like that weird sweet spot for music releasing. Like, I feel like every 2 weeks is way too often. Every month you could probably get away with every month, but I feel like every 6 weeks is probably like that nice little sweet spot where it's not too long, not too little. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And the waterfall release, I've noticed that a lot more musicians are doing that, like, especially if they want to release like a full-bodied project, whether it's an EP, LP, doing it as a waterfall. And the fact that Spotify kind of allows that, or not allows it, but they have a setup for it to where it could be like a full, at the end of it, it could still be listed as a full EP instead of just a bunch of singles, and then you don't have to like re-release the music or whatever. That's really cool. So.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm very thankful for the opportunities the Spotify can provide for artists,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So kind of you're in the early stages of this release process. What's kind of running through your mind right now as you're kind of kicking off the release of this EP?
Well, a lot. I'm actually about to head over to Mexico for a whole month. I'll be there July 15th till August 15th. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of just pushing this, and at the same time learning to trust myself, I feel like I'm always just so I can trust someone else's opinion sometimes before I listen to myself. Not that I won't trust myself, but I'm like, I feel like sometimes I'm more leaning towards hearing what other people have. Obviously not anyone, but if I know that they're doing well, or they could help me in the industry, or whatever it is, like I feel like before I had more of a like, okay, I gotta listen to what they have to say and then do what they have to say. And now I'm kind of more so just like figuring out my own path. There's no sorry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately and fortunately, there's no set rules, in the music industry, like there's kind of a set loose guideline that then another artist comes and completely shatters that, so like it's like, oh, you should do this, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden someone doesn't do any of that, goes viral, gets a crazy deal, like you never know what's going to happen. And so I think it's important to just ground myself, and just trust the music and trust the connections, and make more connections, and just keep growing and keep trying to be vulnerable in the most powerful way, I guess. You don't want to be all like small and like crying, but like you still got to show yourself, and that takes a lot of work. It's not I feel like I can easily hide myself under like some music, but then when it comes to just like showing your music and performing and explaining your music and finding ways to get people to listen to your music through social media or through videos or whatever it is, it really takes, just like being like, all right, I have to trust myself, and I have to trust that if I show myself, people are going to resonate with this and they're going to want more from it. So I'm just learning that, instead of just being like, oh, someone that knows what they're doing has told me that I should be doing this, so let me do this. It's like, all right, do I want to do that? If I do, then I will. But if I don't, then maybe I should figure out something that actually feels authentic to me, because what doesn't, people will easily notice that, like I feel like in a way, like, how people in film always say that the camera captures everything, so don't do too much, unlike gotta make it smaller, because the camera captures a lot. And I feel that like that's a good way of putting like in a way making a parallel with how people perceive you. If I'm out here doing the most in a non-authentic way, everyone's going to see that it doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
So trying to find things that are authentic to my sound and to who I am as a person, and this EP, and just going with that, world building as I can, and yeah, just keep meeting people and putting my music out there. I've been very fortunate that for the most part, every time that I show my music to people, they either resonate with it, they want to hear more, they're interested, and yeah, I just got to keep doing that, got to stay hopeful.
Yeah. I just to kind of add on that, as a listener of your music, you touched on authenticity. Just keep doing that. Just whatever you feel is authentic to yourself and you're happy with, the people are going to resonate with, and just kind of listening to your growth, especially over the last little over a year, because I think we had you on at the beginning of June last year. So just kind of watching your growth over this last year has been absolutely astounding. And I think you're really hitting your stride right now with the music that you're putting out. And it just feels like it's natural for you to be doing what you're doing right now.
Thank you so much. It takes a lot of work, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of crying, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big crybaby, but yeah, just gotta keep betting on the dream. I'm not gonna give up.
Yeah. And I mean, just kind of being in New York, you're in Brooklyn, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. So just kind of being in New York and just kind of always having that. Well, I mean, they say New York is the city that never sleeps, right? So just kind of always having all that energy as a musician and just kind of hitting your stride right now has to be a really cool time to be in New York as a creative in general.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that being in New York is very inspiring, just because there's so many people that are so determined and passionate about something, like they're really putting their all to see it through. And it's not anything, it's something that they really believe in. It's something that, like, it's a dream, and it's inspiring. Sometimes it's jarring, sometimes it's overwhelming, but overall I would say it's inspiring. I love being where I'm around so many people, and although I hate it a lot of times just because I'm so sensitive to sound and everyone is crazy here, there's so many colors and so many stories and just so much that you can just absorb. I was on a podcast not too long ago, and they were asking me about my influences and just how I went about music and whatnot, and I was just like, I feel like I'm a dirty sponge, and it sounds gross, but like, I have my own stuff, so that's why it's a dirty sponge. It's not like a new sponge. At the same time, it is a sponge. There's so much that I can absorb, and then turn into my own. So yeah, that's how it feels being here. It's great. It's also a lot, just because you sometimes just come across people that are just doing so much better than you, when it comes to, like monetary success or I don't know, way more streams or way more followers or whatever. But ultimately, I think that if you're just like authentic, vulnerable, and really a go-getter, people will like recognize that, regardless of where you're at in your success, I guess, which is a very, I don't know, everyone has their own definition of that.
Yeah. And, just kind of being in New York in general and seeing the varying degrees of success from the person that's just starting out to the person that's been doing it for 30 years and they make millions of dollars a year because they're a super famous musician. There's one of two ways you can look at it. You could take the super positive route, which seems like the way you're going. It's like, okay, that's where I want to be. I'm going to figure out how they got there, and I'm going to carve my own path to get there, and just kind of take it as inspiration to get there. Or it could be like, oh man, I'm never going to hit, and you could just be super negative about the situation. But, just New York opens up those doors to see like, oh, hey, these are the varying levels of success. As long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. Cause you go to some of these smaller cities and you got the musicians that are dreaming of hitting it big time, but they don't have the varying degrees of success sitting in front of them, seeing what it could be or what it couldn't be. I think it's a very interesting situation, and I think New York's really cool for that, just to kind of be able to see the varying degrees of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, like, a lot of times, unlike LA, in my opinion, it feels very like you're just, in a way, like, you might be at different stages, but you're still on the same block. You know what I mean? Like,
and in New York, real people recognize real people, whereas something like LA, it's like, I have many of friends that live in LA, but there are a lot of fake people in LA. Like, not saying they're all fake, but
absolutely. I mean, I don't want to just make a big, just say everyone is one way or whatever, but I did come across, and it's always the transplants. It's never the people from LA. It's all the people to LA, and they have very specific, like, personality and profile to them. I don't know. I guess, fake is one way of putting it. But one time, and this is something that a lot of people say, like, people in New York are not nice, but they're kind. People in LA are nice, but they're not kind. And I kind of feel that, I've had multiple situations in LA where I felt like kindness wasn't there, but a smile. And here, maybe they don't smile at you. Maybe they don't have to say anything nice, but they see you lost, or they see you carrying a lot of stuff, and someone will offer, hey, like, let me help you out. They might not be nice about it, but they'll still help you, and I think I value kindness over niceness. I don't
because
just be nice to me.
Yeah. And the way you put it makes a lot more sense than the way I put it. But, like, you could fake niceness, but kindness is genuine. Like, you have to be a real genuine person to be like, let me stop what I'm doing to help this person because it looks like they're struggling.
Right. Yeah.
It like, to flash somebody a smile and a hi, how you doing? That takes no effort. But to say, like, you see me walking down the street and I look lost as all hell, but I'm carrying like 30 bags of groceries. Somebody says, hey, how can I help you? Or where you go, like, whatever it is, that takes effort. You get what I'm saying? So,
well, I think in a way, it's kind of just like, if I have to make it a little more, like, if I have to be a little more simple-minded with it, I think it's just ultimately just understanding being in another person's shoes. I think that in New York, we're all taking the subway. We're all dealing with the craziness, no matter who you are. I mean, you can just be in Ubers the whole time and go from apartment to studio or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're still feeling the city, and LA is a little more isolating in that way. You can just be in your car and not really understand other people's realities. So I think that's where that comes in, the lack of, like, understanding, they don't, it's hard for them to not see outside of their situation, to see outside of their situation, and that's why sometimes there's a lack of kindness, because it's like, oh, I'm in my world, everything is great in my world, but it's not great in other people's world. But that's all you see, here you're constantly just, like, hit in the face with reality in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
That brings, people to just help you out a little bit, because they're like, oh, I was there once. Like, someone to help me. I can do this to someone. I can do what someone didn't or did do for me.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of, you mentioned that you're going to Mexico here in about a week, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, right after my release, I'm going over there. I've been working with people in Mexico for a while. Actually, the feature that I have on my EP is this Mexican artist. and I've just been dying to go there, honestly, for a long time, just because I've always loved Frida Kahlo, and a lot, like, I love Mexican food and just
Mm.
artists in Mexico, just the Day of the Dead, just so much about Mexico that I look up to. And I've always wanted to go there, but ever since I released music, I've been even more excited to go,
Mhm.
just because I've had great feedback from people there, and just a lot of genuine, again, genuine interest in music, which
Mhm.
is something that I value so much as someone that is such a geek about music. Like, I love it. You want to talk about a plugin, you want to talk about chords, you want whatever. Let's nerd out. I love it. I might not know as much as someone else, but I
Yeah.
love about it. And or just like talking about bands and the lyrics, what did they mean, whatever. And there's a lot of people in my experience that are like that in Mexico. And I've talked
Mhm.
about this with other artists that are already there, and they totally agree with me. Like, there's just such like, music is such a part of everybody's life there, and it's not undermined, like,
Right. You.
people genuinely really really care, like, they'll
Mhm.
come up to you after a show and be like, oh, that lyric, what was that, blah blah blah. Maybe might even take photos with you. You might not even be big or anything, but they really look up to musicians. Um so yeah, I'm really excited to go there, solidify certain connections that I've had for a while, open up new doors for me. I'm going there mostly just to, like, work on music and
Mhm.
explore different connections, and also, have a good time in Mexico, and
Yeah.
just, like, bathe in the culture. But yeah, it's a chapter I'm kind of excited about. I'm hoping that a lot of new music comes out of that as well. That's definitely the plan.
Nice.
I'll just be pushing what I'm already releasing while I'm there as well. So yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. I've not been to Mexico yet, but a lot of the stuff that you'd mentioned, just getting to work with not necessarily Mexican musicians, but a lot of Hispanic, well, I'll just say Hispanic in general, you know, and just getting to hear their passion for music and them tell their stories about, how much they love music and what they're working on and stuff of that nature is just really cool. And I'd love one day to go to Mexico. It's not in the cards in the immediate future, but it is really cool to kind of see the passion that the Hispanic culture just in general has for music.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, so I think I'm almost positive we talked about this the last time we had you on, but you're originally from Argentina. Argentina? Yeah,
Argent.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh no, there's
Yeah.
oh no, I failed so hard. So but you're originally from Argentina. How long have you been in New York at this point?
I moved to New York in September of 2019, so right
Okay,
before.
gotcha. And you move to New York from Argentina, or
I did, but I had lived in LA before. So I went to school in LA
Mhm.
after high school. Well, high school. Um, I was there, graduated, stayed there for a little bit longer, trying to give it a valid shot, a real shot, just because while I was in school kind of took over most of my life. I was there all the time, really. Like, I had classes there all the time, and just, I was in the
Yeah,
college, like, okay, let me just see outside of the college world. It might not be as bad as I think. Didn't really work out for me. I wasn't really resonating with it. And so I got an opportunity to go back home and work on some music there. So I went back there. And then while I was there, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to go back. I don't
yeah,
see why I go back. And I've always wanted to move to New York. And so I just did not think that it would go it would go, like, did not think a pandemic would hit, but
mm,
I don't think anyone did. Well, maybe some conspiracy theory people, but yeah, it was kind of an unusual time. I'm not going to say unfortunate, but
mm,
unusual and I've been here ever since. I don't
nice.
know where I'll be next. I can't tell you certainly that I will be in New York my whole life, but I'll just go wherever my music takes me.
Yeah,
If I can seriously make music somewhere, I'll be okay.
yeah, for sure. It's a wide open world right now, especially with the internet. You could pretty much be wherever you want to be, and be in touch with whoever you want to be in touch with.
Yep.
So kind of moving forward, you've got the upcoming EP. You got the new single dropping next Friday, or next Friday, right? Or Thursday. Like, I can't do math anymore.
I believe it's Friday. Yeah. July 14th.
I was like, wait a minute, math. That was never my strong suit. So,
Okay.
next Friday. So as you kind of prepare for that, are you playing shows right now, or where are you kind of at on the show spectrum?
Well, I was doing shows and I was getting booked for some pretty good venues, and it was pretty exciting. But I decided to take a step back a little bit and try to work more on certain connections and get more people to like my music here in New York, and then I'll go shows. I want to take a step back. I was like, okay, shows take up a lot of space. Like you have prepare for them, you do the show, like you got to make sure people come, you sell tickets, and you figure out what to wear and the set list and rehearsing. And I love that, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I was just like, let me just take this energy and time onto like working on like certain connections and trying to grow organically through like social media and just like in person with people, just like meeting people. I'm like, all right, the summer is a good time. Everyone's out during the summertime. So yeah, just trying to meet people right now, show my music to people, figure out new ways of just like showcasing my music, with like videos and content and all that good stuff that I'm not too crazy about, but we got to do. And then I'll go back to shows. I do really enjoy performing, especially in New York. I mean, I haven't performed the whole world yet, but here, it's exciting. People really, it's so interesting how even though most of my music is in Spanish, people are really like, oh, okay. They're really liking it and enjoying it. And as someone that never, I've never really considered myself a performer first at all. I actually would really struggle with that. I started singing when I was really young, and like if you see videos of me back then, I was just like just so shy. So getting people to like me performing live, it's I don't know, it feels like such a dream,
Yeah, for sure. It's really cool. And I haven't obviously seen you perform live because I keep saying I want to go to New York, but then I just never go, even though it's probably one of the easiest trips that I could make.
Do it. Just take a leap of faith. Just book the trip and then figure it out.
Right. It's because I'm sitting here, I'm like, I tell everybody in New York or that is based out of New York, yeah, I'm going to go to New York one day. And I've been saying that for a year and a half and I haven't gone yet. Like, I just need to.
Well, time is ticking. You gotta do it.
Yep, for sure. So I guess I'll ask this question just in general, and then you can kind of answer it how you want to answer it. Who have you been listening to recently for musical influences, or what musicians have you been listening to recently that have really been resonating with you?
Recently, well, I mean, I love Rosalia. I've loved her for a while now. I think she's one of the top right now when it comes to main music. I mean, I guess some people would say she's not mainstream, but she's huge and she's doing world tours. Like, she's nowhere close to indie artist. I love her. I admire her work ethic and just her music overall. I think it was so necessary. I'm so glad she broke in the music industry and now so big because she's fantastic. I always listen to reggaeton, like Tiny. He's a huge producer from Puerto Rico, and he's been making music. He's been producing huge artists since he was like 16. He's just a prodigy kind of person, just making crazy, really just like bringing a new, refreshed sound to reggaeton, which was very much needed. So I've been listening to that album that he came out with. He's a producer, so all the songs are just collaboration artists, which I love to hear different artists. And let me think. I mean, Led Zeppelin always finds a way back for me.
Yeah.
Even though I know that they've like stole so much and whatever, you know, they're kind of problematic in a way, but that will always make a comeback for me. Also Portishead, funny enough, the album,
Oh,
what's the album? Is it Dummy? No. What's the album?
uh,
Whatever.
yeah. As I said, I don't know.
I'm really bad with album names, really. That album for sure. I felt like I rediscovered it. It was really
Mm.
exciting because I had heard it before, but it didn't like resonate as much as it has recently.
Mhm.
So, trying to think. I'm trying to think. What else? What else?
Is there anything that people wouldn't expect you to really be into? Like, do you have well, I mean, you brought up Led Zeppelin, which to me that seems a little out of pocket for you, but
All right.
is there like a band that's people wouldn't expect you to be into?
I mean, I'll be honest. I really like it. I'm a pretty moody person, so
Mm.
I listen to all kinds of music. Like
Mhm.
I'll go from listening to like a old, not like yeah, like old jazz,
Mhm.
like I don't know. I can listen to older jazz. I can listen to more contemporary jazz.
Mhm.
Then I'll switch on to reggaeton, and then I'll go to a pop ballad from the '80s,
Yep.
and I'll switch over to Whitney Houston, and then I can go to trap, like
Yeah.
Argentine trap. Then listen to I don't know, like I've been listening to some like Bollywood as
Oh
well.
well, nice. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I really like to listen to all kinds. Sometimes I like if I'm in the mood, I'll listen to some like heavy metal music,
Nice.
Black Sabbath.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It really depends on my mood. You know, I'll have people be like, "Oh, you don't like this kind of music," and it's like, no, I just don't. I'm not in the mood for it. You know, like
Yeah.
specifically, like I don't know, like some trap artists. You know, I have to be in the mood for it. You know,
Yeah.
that all the hi-hats and like the heavy auto
Yeah.
tune, like I'm always in the mood for it. But if you catch me in the mood, I will like it. So yeah, I don't know. I listen to friends first, you know, some of my friends, like my friend Eve Caletti, she's like back home in Argentina. She makes sort of like R&B,
Mm.
indie, like yeah, it's pretty cool. I love what she does. Yeah, I really like to listen to so many things,
Yeah.
you know.
Which is cool. Like I feel like a lot of people would be it would benefit people more to kind of take that approach to their music. Like I didn't realize it until a couple of years ago that I'm very similar to that. Like where it's like I I started noticing like once I was paying a lot of attention to like what was on my Spotify playlist, where it's like, okay, I will put a song on there and I'll listen to it for a bit. And it's like, okay, I don't want to listen to this anymore. And then I take it out. But then 2 years later, it makes its way back onto my playlist because, like my taste in music ebb and flows depending on my mood or what I'm feeling or, whatever it is. And sometimes you'll catch me when I'm originally from Chicago, so you'll catch a lot of Chicago blues music just kind of randomly make its way into my playlist, which is kind of funny. And then
You should
there's
send some.
yeah.
Like,
I definitely will do that. But then you'll like my general playlist for me, it'll go from like the heaviest of heavy death metal, and then Ed Sheeran will pop on next. Like so, just like the eclectic nature of my playlist is really really wild. So
yeah, I think it's so important, you know, like it's just I don't know, it's kind of like to me, I see it sort of like, okay, I can eat pasta every day, or I can
Mhm.
eat pasta and Thai food and pho and Puerto Rican food, and then I can have some Italian again, and I can go to tapas, you know, like
Yeah,
that's kind of it, you know, like
yeah,
why would I just listen to one thing?
yeah.
I think partially to how I grew up, you know, I grew up with both parents listening to different kinds of music, and they had their own variety. So yeah, like maybe my dad was leaning towards this kind of genres, and then my mom was leaning towards this, but they both
Mm.
listened to kinds of music.
Yeah.
And that was always in the house. You know, I always had all kinds of music in the house. So I guess I was fortunate enough to not be just to have like an open-minded mindset from a very young age. You know, I had parents that were always just open to just like, okay, what is this? You know, like sometimes I'll catch my mom singing to this like super raunchy reggaeton song, and I'm like, Mom, what do you know what they're saying? She's like, whatever, I like the beat, you know. Like, and I don't know, my dad always like, you know, we've had this thing where we used to just send each other new music. You know, he's very interested in knowing about new artists, which is not something all parents are into. You know, some parents, oh, no, I don't like all these new artists, they're not good, whatever. He's kind of the opposite. He's always just like, I want to listen to new music, what's going on, send me recs. So yeah, it definitely influenced me just listening to all kinds of music. But I don't know, I hope everyone opens up their ears and their mind. You know, there's so much.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't want to keep you too much longer here, because I know it's Saturday morning and it's the weekend, let's be honest with it. So if anybody wants to check out your music, any upcoming or all the upcoming releases, all the cool stuff you're doing on Instagram and the social media stuff, even though you said you don't like it, you're doing a really great job. Just like the interesting photos and all the cool stuff you're doing, it's really awesome. So where can people find you online?
They can find me. My name is like Camille. It's spelled a little bit differently. It's CVMILLE. And on social media platforms, it's Camille Music. And then on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, whatever, you can just find me under Camille.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm not going to lie. You tripped me up when you signed on and you had your name spelled CA. No. I was like, wait a minute. Did I make the poster wrong? Did she?
No, you're wrong.
Okay, cool.
You know, because I have people be like, what's your real name? I'm like, it is Camille. Like, I'm not lying about my name, but with a V, a little different, you know.
Yeah, nice.
Alter ego.
Yeah, for sure. It ties into who you really are, but it's also keeps people guessing. It's like a little like you said, a little alter ego thing. So as we wrap this up, one thing I want to do, what's a piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
Oh, I would say it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. And I'm not undermining it by saying this, but try as much as you can to be vulnerable. You know, like I feel like a lot of young artists, I'm putting myself in that category a few years back. I don't know. I think the world kind of wants you to lose that vulnerability. You know, it's like, toughen up, don't cry, blah, 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 blah. And vulnerability is not crying, not necessarily. It's just, again, being open to feeling, you know, and unfortunately, that is something that a lot of different things that go on in the world make us go in the opposite direction, like close off and not feel, because you have to just push through and get through whatever you got to get through. As a person that's trying to emote and put music out there, I will say, like, fiercely open up yourself and be vulnerable, you know, like in a fierce way, you know, not in a like, oh my God, I'm feeling sorry for myself. No, the opposite. You know, it's just like, I have something to say and I feel like this is important, and like what I feel matters. And I think that other people can resonate with that. And I think that if that's your mindset, you're already miles ahead, you know, because it's so easy to fall into like, oh, people are making this music, let's do this. Or just even thinking like, what should I write about? You know, it's like, well, open yourself up to feeling, and I'm sure you'll have something to write about, or at least something to say for someone to write about. You know, some people are not great songwriters. I get that. They can be great at other things. So just be open, be vulnerable, but you know, be strong about it. It's not weak, very different. You know, people associate that with weakness. Not at all. It's the opposite. It's being so courageous, you know. So that's my advice.
Yeah, awesome. Open. It's perfect advice. So, but once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been an absolute blast. It's always fun to chat with you, and you're welcome back on anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For anybody listening, if you want to support Live and Amplified, liveandamplified.net is our website. You can find anything we do. The Hoedown Showdown, which is our country radio station, our country radio show. It's not a station yet. And then we also have Live from the Pit, which is our independent rock radio show. And it's all going into a station starting mid-September called Live and Amplified's Indie Fusion Radio. But you can get all that information at liveandamplified.net. But once again, Camille, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later.